My amazing friend, I am grateful that you've chosen to listen, or if you're reading through this podcast, because in one way or another, all of us are going to experience some trauma in our life. Of course, there can be a tremendous variation in the kind and in the intensity of that trauma, but today, if I may, I would love to share some ideas and suggestions that I promise will help you to deal with the traumatic events in your life, and I'll also talk about some of the challenges that trauma can create for us. Look, I've been a therapist for over 20 years. I've published 2 books, including a bestseller for teens just like you, and I've counseled thousands upon thousands of teens with really tragic and difficult trauma, and in all honesty, whenever teens open up about their challenges and the trauma that they've experienced, they immediately begin to feel more in control over their lives. There's no doubt in my mind that talking about and disclosing trauma to another person is a tremendous act of courage, and my friend, we all need courage and confidence in our lives. I've also found that when people talk about and share that trauma with trusted adults and with professionals, I find that these amazing teens immediately begin to grow. It's as if some of those traumatic events and situations are holding them back, almost as if they're stuck in the past, and talking about it is the beginning and the climbing out of that hole. By the way, if you don't feel like you've experienced significant trauma, this episode can actually help you to deal with future trauma in a better way, which will protect you from some of the negative effects and challenges that can happen when we experience tragic and traumatic experiences. When people experience trauma, they often talk about having nightmares or unwanted memories of that trauma. They talk about avoiding situations that bring back memories or feelings that are connected to that trauma. They sometimes express really high emotional responses like sadness or fear or nervousness, sometimes even panic. They also talk about having a difficult time trusting others or being really hypervigilant, which really just means that their brain is always on high alert. This is what happens when trauma occurs. For a lot of you, these feelings or memories will naturally go away. But for others, these feelings and thoughts just seem to stick around and they don't leave. Sometimes our brain can get a little stuck in our trauma, and that's why I wanted to talk about it today, so that I can get you some tools to help and get this trauma unstuck so that you can keep moving forward, upward, and forward, and go into life confidently. I can't believe I just said forward twice. More in control, willing to get in the mix, in the game, to be involved instead of having fear direct and drive your life. And my friend, I do not want fear to drive your life. I want you, your goals, your dreams, your objectives, your best and most intelligent ideas to guide and drive you. Let me briefly share a couple of things that you need to know right away about trauma. 1, you are made to overcome trauma. Your brain and body are made to experience some really hard things, to process them and to overcome them. Just like the weather and the seasons, your body is a magnificent instrument, and it naturally moves through the tragic and traumatic things in our life with time. Be patient with this process. 2, there's an old saying that says, if you can name it, you can tame it. The logic here is simple. When you understand something better, when you understand how it works, the way things are, it helps you to know that you're not crazy, but that you're experiencing something natural and normal. This is what's called awareness, and this awareness gives you power to address and overcome these challenges. 3, sometimes your brain gets stuck. This is natural as well. It's important for you to realize that your brain remembers everything. I know that's hard to believe, but it's true, especially events that are dangerous and life-threatening. If you can think of your brain as a survival mechanism, then you'll realize that your brain works really hard to remember these moments of intense fear or harm or abuse or other situations so that it can warn you. But sometimes the brain thinks that these events are happening all the time, which can leave you feeling afraid and nervous and sad and stuck and out of control. Sometimes when your brain feels this way, it wants to fight, it wants to flight, it wants to freeze. What I want to teach you today is the 4th response, which is focus. I want you to focus so that you can regain more control over your life, over your thinking, and over your feeling and behaving. By the way, all of this is to be done with patience, with kindness, with understanding, and with some confidence that you can do something to make things better little by little. So how can you help yourself and others deal with these challenging and difficult circumstances in our lives? Well, I'm glad you're asking, because here are 3 key steps that will help you to deal with any situation. Are you ready? Step 1, talk about your trauma. One of my favorite sayings is, whatever we can talk about, we can begin to control. Whatever we can't talk about controls us. Thus, one of the goals of trauma is for you to find a safe place where you can express and talk about your trauma. My friend, I know that talking about these circumstances is so hard. Some of you may feel embarrassed, ashamed. You may feel like it's your fault, or you simply don't want to talk about it because when you do, you feel sad, nervous, panic, or you feel like you're going to cry. And because you're trying to not cry, you hold it in and you don't talk about it. Look, I don't blame you, but I'm just here to tell you as your friend that we must talk. Like Eleanor Roosevelt said, we must do the things we think we cannot do. Think of those traumatic events like a puzzle that's not put together. Talking about it helps to put the puzzle together. When the puzzle is put together, we can deal with it better. Talking is powerful, it's healing, and it's empowering. Step 2, learn some skills to help you deal with the thoughts and feelings that trauma can sometimes create. Trauma can be really hard to deal with. It can steal your focus. It can cause you to feel sick to your stomach or afraid or nervous, among so many other feelings. These emotions can be so strong that they will flood your body and your brain, and you'll feel a little out of control. This is one of the reasons why people don't want to talk, because they want to try to avoid situations or things that remind them of that trauma. But like I said, we cannot allow fear and trauma to take over and direct your life. So when you begin to feel these emotions and your brain seems to be stuck on the memories and the thoughts connected to whatever happened, call it what it is. This is my trauma acting up. It's my brain and body remembering the trauma. This is just my body sounding the alarm and telling me to be ready. The next step is to shift gears inside your brain, much like how you would shift gears in a car or how you would change directions when you're walking. I want you to physically do anything else. Don't fight against those feelings. Don't get angry with yourself for thinking about them. Instead, just do something else. Talk to a friend. Listen to your favorite playlist. Read a book. Play a game. Pet your dog. Get up and go for a walk, a run, a bike ride. Watch a show. Send a nice text to a family or friend. Get out of your bedroom and go into the living room where other people are. Just shift gears and do something fun, useful, helpful, smart. In other words, don't fight back against your brain. Fight forward and do something fun and intelligent for you. Step 3, keep growing. Sometimes when people experience really serious trauma, they can develop a serious condition called post-traumatic stress disorder. It just means that their trauma is making life really challenging. Our ultimate goal, and this is my personal goal for you, my friend, is to grow from your trauma. One of my favorite quotes is, grow through what you go through. You know I'm all about the growth mindset, and as challenging and tragic as some of our life situations can be, I want you to know that with time, help, courage, and a full dose of love and compassion, we can absolutely grow, even when we're still feeling some of those negative consequences of those tragic and traumatic events. Look, there's so much that can be said about dealing with trauma, and sometimes trauma requires hard work, but can I just say, it's important work that needs to be done. If you're experiencing any abuse now or have in the past, please consider opening up to a trusted adult, a counselor, a family member, whoever you choose, and let's fight forward. My friend, there's help. Talk to us and we can help to facilitate this process for you and make it a little bit easier. Best of luck to you, my friend. Remember, line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little, slow by slow, small by small, progress is coming. Stay humble, stay flexible, and be resolute about living in a kinder and wiser way.